Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the StacyM Show. Have to apologize for my lighting. I'm currently doing this from a motel room, and this was the best I could get. But today's episode is just about my cervical cancer journey. There were people who had questions, and I was more than happy to answer them. And I thought to hopefully try and reach more people and make awareness of cervical cancer and that, it can be preventable, or at least, not get to the stage where I was at stage 3. I would put in the form of a podcast and you can share it with those people who you love, to remind them to make sure that they get all of their checkups, whether you're a male or a female, and it's not just in relation to getting your pap smear done. It's it's prostate, it's bowel, it's breast, it's any health check that you need to make sure that you stay up to date. So there's a few questions that have come through and they're all pretty similar, so I'm going to answer the ones that have already come in. If there are any other questions, please just reach out. As I said, there has been no filter. I don't want there to be a filter. I didn't want to glamorize, I suppose, cancer. I was told the other week that I was faking my cancer diagnosis. I can guarantee you that I've got better things to do than to fake a cancer diagnosis. No, I very much was diagnosed with stage 3 end of November, start of December. And another one was that I was faking my side effects. No, haven't been faking any side effects. Anything that I've had, I've shared them. And as to the root cause as to why I think I got them, because I think some were self-inflicted. So definitely haven't been, hiding anything at all. But, more than happy to be hit up, if with questions, or whether you think I have been hiding stuff, but definitely have not. You can probably see it in my face. Still very exhausted, still very tired. Recent blood show that I'm anemic, so that would be no doubt contributing to why I'm so absolutely exhausted and why that brain fog is there. But again, if that's the worst that I have to deal with for the moment, I'm going to take it over other side effects. So the first question was, could this have been prevented? Absolutely. If it couldn't have been prevented, it could have been caught earlier and I might not have got to stage 3. So this is not a vax, anti-vax debate. There is a HPV vaccination. Actually, I think my eldest daughter got it probably like in year 7, I think. So I did have it, but I would have been in my mid-20s when I had it. And I want to say it was probably when the vaccination had come out. So this is in Australia. Other countries could be different, but so you obviously have the HPV vaccination, where the cervical cancer comes from. The most common strain is 16 and 18. I did not have either of those strands, so mine has come from somewhere else where, no idea, they didn't consider it necessary to find out where. So, but as I said, this isn't a vax, anti-vax debate. That is an option. Obviously, screening, so getting your pap smears done from when you are sexually active at whatever age that is. I'd probably been always hit and miss with getting my pap smear done, and this time round, I can't check the exact date because obviously my most recent one took the place of the one that happened before. I thought I had one maybe just after my first daughter was born, and she turns 15 this year. So I want to say there was probably, 13, 14 years gap between my pap smear perhaps. Had they been more up to date, obviously those cells would highly likely have been picked up that they were getting a little bit dodgy, and I highly likely probably wouldn't have got to stage 3 like I have. So definitely preventable, or if not preventable, definitely didn't have to escalate to stage 3. And I have no valid reason for not getting a pap smear other than I probably didn't have the time, or I didn't think I had the time. I didn't want that awkwardness and that discomfort for 5 to 10 minutes, like literally no valid reason. So, the amount of awkwardness and discomfort that I've had in the past few months has definitely outweighed the 5 or 10 minute pap smear. So, yeah, so definitely do recommend you stay up to date with your pap smears. In Australia, it's every 5 years unless you are deemed high risk, and then it's more regular than that. My understanding is that cervical cancer or squamous cell is slow growing. So there's, I probably have had this in my system for 10 years, but I didn't have any symptoms until late last year or towards the last quarter of last year. So it could definitely be growing inside you and you don't know it. So please definitely make sure that you get checked out. I don't believe it's also hereditary, but I was not aware that a family member had cervical cancer in her 20s. So had I known that, would I have been more regular with my pap smears? Probably not, because my auntie also had breast cancer, which I kind of forgot about, and I still haven't gone for a breast check. So the fact that the scans at the moment and the next one in 3 months, we'll be doing the whole entire body to make sure that there are no active cancer cells or tumors or anything in there I'm comfortable with. But no, it probably wouldn't have made a difference, I don't think. So I know that there's been so many people that have reached out to me who have booked in their overdue pap smears, which is absolutely fantastic, or they've booked in a breast scan, or the guys are saying that they're getting their prostate checked and all those other things. I said I was really good with getting my teeth done each year. I was really good at getting my skin checked each year. My grandmother had died from skin cancer, so I was very active with that. Get my eyes checked each year. Fell behind on other things. Can't tell you why. I just did. So, but yes, I think prevention is much better than cure, or at least early diagnosis will save you probably a lot of what I've gone through the past few months with treatment. So symptoms. So as I said, it had highly likely been growing in me for around 10 years. There was definitely nothing picked up when I went to have my second child in 2013, but she was also born by a Caesar. So I don't know whether something would have been picked up by then. I think that's kind of where they're getting the 10-year thing from, kind of after kids, and it's, something's happened and it's decided to kick off there. But the only symptom that I had was discharge. So I thought my bladder was failing. I knew it wasn't like urine coming out. It wasn't smelly. It wasn't the consistency, but there was something happening. And I'm like, maybe it's a UTI. So I waited a couple of weeks and went, yeah, okay, this probably isn't normal. I tried to utilize online doctors because I didn't think it was anything serious. And kind of exhausted with all them. They're like, you've got diabetes. I'm like, I don't have diabetes. I'm like, yeah, you do. I'm like, no, I don't. They were basing that just off the discharge. I knew what my blood sugar was. I check my blood sugar levels. I have the ability to do that at home. So I knew it wasn't diabetes. And they're like, look, you're wrong. But, if you're going to be like that, you have to go to a physical doctor now. So I did that. I'm like, I can tell you, I don't have diabetes. My blood sugar level is very normal, but there's obviously something happening. And of course, I had a pap smear done, and the doctor was like, look, it's not meant to be looking like this. I have a very good relationship with my doctor. So most doctors probably wouldn't say what had happened. But, yes, I've seen worse, but this should be looking better than this. It's very red, it's bleeding, it's very inflamed. There's definitely something up. When I had the pap smear, I felt incredibly unwell and it hurt like a lot. So getting a pap smear done usually doesn't necessarily hurt, it just is uncomfortable. But this actually made me feel very nauseous and there was like blood everywhere. I felt very unwell and it hurt a lot. So that obviously got sent away. I'm sitting in the car afterwards wondering if I'm going to vomit. That's what it was like. I felt horrid, and the pap smear was done on Saturday morning and I felt really unwell all weekend, and I think going into Monday as well I had from memory like pains in like my stomach and my pelvis area. I felt very nauseous, just felt absolutely horrid. And then I came good a little bit and went to Sydney on the Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it was. Because I think it was Tuesday, because we had to go down there for a trade show, and it was halfway through Thursday. I got the call saying the doctor wants you to come and see him. I'm like, I'm in Sydney. It's obviously come back or something. You got to tell me on the phone. I'm not waiting type thing. I heard ovarian cancer, which doesn't make sense from a pap smear, but obviously I was just very overwhelmed with everything. It was clearly cervical cancer. And, I think I've done some videos on the rest from there. If I haven't released them yet, they will be coming released. But so that was my symptom. It was just thinking that my bladder had failed. So there was just discharge. I didn't have anything else. So, as each test came back, so I was diagnosed as stage 1, then I went to stage 2, and there's stages within the stages as well. So I can't remember what stage in stage 1 I was. I can't remember what stage in stage 2 I was either, but then I got upgraded to stage 3, which was 3C1, and I've just forgotten it because this is what it's like. 3C1, maybe that's it. That's really bad. Having moments and a brain fog and what they call chemo brain, which I think is worse than baby brain. Moments happen a lot. So maybe C31, I think, was my stage within my stage. But it wasn't that it had grown within those times. It was just that the different tests that were coming back were more advanced to detect where it was. And I think it was the last PET scan and the MRI that really showed the signs of it and what stage it was as well. But that was my symptom. When my last pap smear was, I'd already jumped the gun and said that. I think it was probably well around that 13, 14, 15-year mark. I said I think I had one just after my eldest was born. I think that's only because I wasn't expecting to have one done. It was one of the checkups post having her, I think. I can't quite remember that far back, but yeah, so it was definitely overdue. So regular pap smears would have picked this up. So how long before, like in between pap smears was probably no different. I definitely don't think I was kind of every 5 years. I had not had a dodgy pap smear before. If I had, then that probably would have made me more aware, but no pap smear prior showed any signs of anything either. So what happens after diagnosis? So I think I've done videos on this as well, so they might not have all came out, but I know that definitely some have been released. Look, I still don't think I processed it. It's been 2 to 3 months now. I lived at the hospital for weekly for at least 5 weeks, and my treatment started the week of Christmas. So I was at hospital every single day, sometimes even on a weekend. So receiving treatment. So, and sometimes there were double days. So it was double radiation to make up for public holidays and things. So there are a lot of appointments. You will get jabbed a lot. There is a lot of blood tests. There's a lot of testing in general, where sometimes they need to inject a dye into you. Sometimes you drink the dye, so it shows up on the scan. Then there's wait times. So all of my scans lately have been at the hospital. So they have the MRI and the PET scan ability at the hospital I'm at. Before that, I had to go to Hunter Imaging, in my case, down here. So a lot of those scans were meant to be weeks and weeks to get into, and some of them I was getting in the same day or the next day. So it was definitely a very escalated moment. I didn't have time to really process anything. As I said, I think I'm still processing things now because it has slowed a little bit, but the brain fog is still very much there, and just being really tired. As I said, my latest blood show that I'm anemic, so that's just a side effect that I have to put up with. And then the accumulated radiation and chemo, and now I'm on immuno. I had my 4th immuno yesterday, so just because treatment stops doesn't mean your side effects stop. as well. They are still continuing, and sometimes they can continue for years, which hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, and then the different stages. So as I said, I started at stage 1, finished at stage 3. Very emotional. So when you have radiation as well, at least with cervical cancer, you go into surgical menopause. So I'm assuming that's yet to come. I don't think it's hit, although for somebody who's not very emotional, I do randomly cry at things. So, because it kills your ovaries and everything. So, if you're looking at having children, I don't know how that would work. I already had my girls, so the kid thing for me, I didn't have to worry about. But if you are looking at having children, then you'd have to look at your options for that, because you do go into a surgical menopause just because of where the radiation is taking place. And then you have brachy afterwards if you need that. Chemo as well, I'm assuming, would probably not go so well if you were pregnant or maybe trying to fall pregnant. So, but yeah, the whole diagnosis thing is, as I said, just I think because everything happened so fast, I didn't have a time to process things. I didn't have a time to question things. It was just like, okay, this is what I have to do. And it's not until now I'm like, okay, yes, the majority of my treatment is done, but I have these side effects, and how can I complement things, I suppose, which is what I'm trying to do now. So my treatment plan, so as I said, it started the week of Christmas. I had external beam 5 days a week for 5 weeks. Some of that was double because of the public holidays around that Christmas New Year period, as I said. So I'd have radiation twice a day. I had chemotherapy as well. So I had 5 rounds of chemotherapy. I had cisplatin as my chemo. I had brachytherapy after I had my external radiation, which is internal radiation. So they actually give you radiation through, called it Edward Scissorhanding, which is not probably the best way to describe it if you're looking at having to get brachy, which I have done a video on brachy actually. So I don't think I've released it yet, but it's internal. So they insert things into your vagina. For me, I was asleep for that component of it, but for the actual treatment for the radiation going into me, I was awake for. And you don't feel it, but so you're getting internal radiation directly through your vagina into your cervix. So sounds pretty funky, but that's what it is. And then immunotherapy, which I'm still on for the next 2 years. So that is Pembrose, I think, or something similar to that. The immuno that I am on. So still receiving treatment. As I said, I had my 4th one yesterday. And then wait 3 months to see what the scans are. I'm also complementing with diet. I'm going very bad at that. Very bad at that. So I really wanted diet to be a big part of it from the start, and it got to the point it's just where eat whatever you can stomach, just eat whatever you can eat, and now I'm finding it hard to reel that in and stick to. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. So effectively it's meant to be a low carb diet. I'm very carb based, and it's just being more aware of getting more protein in, reducing carbs and filling it with obviously good fats, and good carbs. So trying to get that sorted right now. I've got supplements as well that I've been taking. So treatment overall, I think I was very lucky with. I had just assumed I was going to get nausea, so I managed that incredibly well. I was taking either Zofran or Maxilon 3 times a day. And last week, I actually started to wean myself off, so I haven't taken any anti-nausea meds for about a week, which was super, super scary, but I actually feel better for not being on them. Still incredibly tired, which that's a side effect of, but yeah, definitely feel better for not being on the anti-nausea meds now. I still carry them around with me, but I haven't needed them for over a week, which was good, and I wasn't quite sure how immuno was going to go, but still fine. So but treatment, I could probably count on one hand how many times I thought I was going to die. And really, there was only one time I thought I was going to die. It was the longest 15 to 20 minutes that I had ever had. I was nauseous. I was sweating. I had no idea what was happening. And there might have been actually one other time of a night time where I'd contemplated calling an ambulance as well. Just, I can't quite remember what was happening. I think it was just sore, nauseous, similar along the same lines. But I didn't have to have any extended hospital stays or anything like that. And then when I was unwell, so there were times where I'd go to radiation and I'd be like, I don't know, like I feel really unwell. I'm either going to shit myself, piss myself, or vomit, or do all three. There was a couple of times where I'd done that and they were like, if it happens, it happens. You're not the first and you're not going to be the last. So as I said, I had the most amazing team. It didn't happen. But I was just very honest with them that I feel absolutely horrid and I'm not quite sure if I'm going to make treatment. There was one time I was driving myself and I was very close to turning the car back around and not doing it because I felt really horrid as well. But those days were really few and far between for me. So I knew if I managed nausea, then anything else I would just manage, whether that was pain or whatever else. So, and having said that, there wasn't a lot of pain that I had either. So I knew that I had certain reactions to Dex. The first week of chemo, I actually had my legs down and that was the worst idea ever. So I made sure that my legs were always elevated because they're pumping you like 4 to 5, 6 liters of fluids. So it's a lot of fluid and leaving my legs down just had horrid effect. It was very restless legs. The decks on top of that, they were very swollen and sore and uncomfortable. So I just made sure that any chemo day I had, that my legs were elevated so the chair was up. That was probably my biggest takeaway from that. Also, when you have treatment, they put the bandages and everything on your arm. And I'm the person that will take a Band-Aid off in the shower. Like that's where I'm at. And obviously I've had a lot of needles over the past couple of months. I started to shave my arms. So, and it stopped hurting. So anytime I have to go get treatment, so I made sure my arms were shaved yesterday. Have to shave both because you don't know where the needle is going to go. It just depends on where's good in the day. But I started to shave my arms and that had a big difference. Like it didn't even hurt with them taking the cannula out and, all of the packing and stuff, like all the tape and bandages and stuff that they put on you. So if you're a bit of a wuss like me, shave your arms for treatment. It makes a very big difference when they taking stuff off you at the end. Chemo days were probably the biggest. Even immuno yesterday, I was kind of at the hospital from 10. I didn't get home until about 4, I don't think. So even that was a really big day. The time you see the oncologist and then you're waiting and then they have to make the treatment up and then you're waiting for a chair and they see up to 60 people a day. So it's not like you're the only person in the room. So even immuno days are quite long. But, we would... yesterday was the first day I didn't have anyone with me. I was very proud of myself. I just had to get a needle on my own, which I did. But, we would take food, we would take cards, we would download things from Netflix and watch that. I'd get up and make a cup of tea. Doing it like that, the days actually went pretty quick. So if you were sitting there with absolutely nothing to do, that would make the day go long, which a lot of people in there did. But the fact that we downloaded some things from Netflix, we had some cards, no sooner we're kind of getting there and we actually feeling like, okay, now we're walking out the door. So definitely make sure that you download things, you take a book, you take headphones, you take a mask. Yesterday I was very cold, so they do have heated blankets there, which is great, but some people bring dressing gowns and their own blankets. So, you're highly likely going to be there for the most of the day. So make sure that you are comfortable. So I make sure things are fully charged as well. But so that would be my advice for that. that was kind of nearly really it. And it's just more like, what advice do you have? And it's just that whole prevention is better than cure. So whether you're a male or a female, any tests that you were due for, whether that's getting your skin checked, it's your dentist appointment, it's an optometrist appointment, it's getting your prostate checked, it's getting your pap smear, it's getting your boobs squished, it's whatever it is, please make sure you go and get that done, because health is not something that should be taken for granted. It's definitely something that I had taken for granted, and then I ended up here, and I think it could have been a hell of a lot worse. But the past 2 months have definitely had an impact on my girls and the family, and whilst I don't do the whole "this has happened for a reason" thing, I don't quite like the wording of that, but it has made me realize that I can't not prioritize my health and let it have a backseat ever again, because I definitely had let my health just, I took it for granted. So I didn't think that, I didn't think that I was like invincible or anything like that, but I definitely just was not up to date with a lot of the checkups that I should have been getting, especially at the age of 43. Like, I should have been more onto things, and I just wasn't. And I know I'm not the only one, because so many people have reached out saying, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, like, time had just gotten away. I thought I was up to date, but I wasn't. And now booked in for my pap smear or my breast check or whatever it might be. So please just make sure you're up to date. Please get on people's backs if they haven't done things. I know there's so many people around me that have already booked in and got their scans done, which is amazing. But if there is someone that might need a little bit of encouragement, please send this podcast or this video, if you're watching on YouTube, to them, because I can't tell you how many times I have been poked and prodded and bruised and tired and upset bowel movements and thinking I'm gonna shit, piss and vomit myself on the radiation table. The things that I've missed out on because white blood cell count takes a really big hit, so you kind of don't want to go anywhere. You can't afford to get sick because we're highly susceptible to getting septic. Like, there's if you start to read all the side effects of everything, it's absolutely like horrendous. So blood clots, kidney issues, like there's so many different things. So please don't learn the hard way that I did. Please make sure you go and get checked, so you're all up to date for peace of mind. But hopefully that answers some of your questions. If you have more, please just reach out and I'll just do another episode. But yeah, I'm slowly getting to it. I overdid it last week, so I've had to pull back the reins a little bit again. So definitely not working at capacity, and I would think that it's going to take a little while for me to get back to where I was, if I will at all. I think I was probably too I think it was probably too hectic for me. Really, I shouldn't have been working what I was working and everything. So probably won't be getting back to what I was, but I should be probably getting back to what I should be doing, which is working less and looking after myself a little bit more. But thank you, everybody, for your patience, and I will catch you next episode. Take care.